Today we're going to talk about JPMorgan and Silver. I have been going through the Securities and Exchange Commission filings looking at the gold and silver mining shares that the Swiss National Bank, the Norwegian National Bank have been holding, and also Deutsche Bank. You can check those out on smaulgld.com or on the YouTube channel. Decided to take a look at JPMorgan's gold and silver mining share holdings, and I found that they do indeed hold some silver mining shares, some gold mining shares. And when I say they, I mean any of their investment affiliates. And before we get started, I just want to clarify what I mean when I say JPMorgan owns something. It's different than when the Swiss National Bank or the Norwegian National Bank buy gold and silver mining shares. Those two national banks are buying those shares on behalf of the national bank itself. Generally speaking, when I say JPMorgan owns something in this podcast, I mean that they have under their control, they may not have any beneficial ownership themselves in any of the silver mining shares that we're going to talk about today. So when I say JPMorgan owns, keep in mind they may not own any of what I'm talking about, but is under their control as an investment advisor. Let's go through JPMorgan and Silver. So the headline is that basically they or their affiliates own or control about 432 to 582 million ounces of silver, and that's worth about $9 to $11 billion. In the grand scheme of things, $11 billion is not that much money. However, 582 million ounces of silver is about 2/3 of the global silver mining production. So in terms of silver, JPMorgan with these numbers is a relatively large player. So JPMorgan and its investment affiliates own or control silver in the following forms. They've got silver mining shares, they've got silver ETFs, including the one that they're the custodian of, SLV. They have a Comex approved vault, which they've stocked with silver since 2011. And they possibly have some silver Maple Leafs and some silver American Eagle. So let's go through each of them. I'm not going to editorialize any of these holdings. I've already given you the disclaimer of whether JPMorgan owns any of this or not. I've given you the definition of what I'm using. This is purely to have an understanding of what is under the control of JPMorgan in terms of silver. So JPMorgan, according to its most recent 13F filing with the Securities Exchange Commission for the second quarter ended June 30th, 2016, owns about a dozen silver mining companies. Not much here. Their largest holding is Franco-Nevada, worth about $70 million. If you recall from yesterday, the Norwegian National Bank owns about $430 million, or owned as of June 30th, 2015. About $430 million worth of Franco-Nevada shares at recent prices. JPMorgan and its affiliates also own some Silver Wheaton, Mag Silver, Pan American Silver, Hecla Mining. But as you see, once you get past Pan American Silver, they own $3 million worth. There's really not much. They own some First Majestic, or they did as of June 30th, $117,000. Not a tremendously large silver mining portfolio for JPMorgan. Again, its largest is Franco-Nevada. They also noted in their filings that they hold silver in the form of ETFs. Interestingly enough, even though JPMorgan is the custodian for the largest ETF, silver ETF in the world, SLV, they only own 282,000 shares of that particular ETF. And more interestingly, somehow their investment advisors also own Sprott Physical Silver Trust and ETF Securities Physical Silver, symbol SIVR. So even the investment managers that are directly controlled by JPMorgan have strayed from where JPMorgan is the custodian, SLV, buying Sprott and buying SIVR silver ETFs. Now, as I mentioned, JPMorgan Chase NA, which is an affiliate of JPMorgan & Co., their London branch is a custodian for the SLV Trust, which is the largest silver ETF in the world. There's about 600 million ounces of silver supposedly in ETFs, of which SLV's got more than half, 356 million shares, 356 million ounces are in SLV, and JP Morgan is the custodian for all that silver. Now, the value of the holdings of that, it's about $6.6 billion, and there's about 375 million shares. So that's what JP Morgan Chase is the custodian of. They don't own 350 million ounces of silver, but that's what's in the silver ETF SLV that JP Morgan acts as custodian. Another place where JP Morgan controls silver is in the Comex vault. They have a Comex approved depository in 2011 where they vault silver, and as you can see, they have grown their silver stockpile from 2011 from under a couple of million ounces all the way up to almost 76 million ounces. Again, this silver is silver that's in the JP Morgan Chase depository, which is a Comex approved depository. It does not mean these silver bars that are in there that are Comex good delivery bars are owned by JP Morgan. They could be. More likely they are owned on behalf of clients. They are divided into that which is eligible to be sold on Comex, and then those that are actually registered and ready for sale right away. So right now there's about 5 million shares that could be delivered to customers cashing in their long contracts, and there's another 70.7 million that can be so registered because they're in the form that make them Comex eligible. So JP Morgan then has 76 million ounces there, and that amount is worth about 1.4 billion in silver. Now Ted Butler, silver expert Ted Butler, wrote in 2014 in an article entitled The Perfect Crime, which you can check out here, that he believed that JP Morgan bought about 70 million silver eagles. Now, I emailed Mr. Butler today, and he wanted to add that he would say that he believes that over 100 million silver eagles have been purchased by JP Morgan by now, and that also 50 million Canadian maple leafs. You can check out The Perfect Crime and see the basis for which Mr. Butler believes that JP Morgan also owns 150 million ounces of silver in the form of American silver eagles and Canadian maple leafs. So if you add it all up, you can see that there's $122 million worth of silver mining shares under JP Morgan's control. There's about $1.4 billion worth of silver in the Comex vault, 75 million ounces. There's about $6.6 billion worth of silver, or 366 million ounces in the SLV trust. And according to Mr. Butler, if you take 100 million silver eagles and 50 million silver maple leafs, you get 1.8 billion and almost $1 billion worth of maple leafs. Add all that up and you get almost $11 billion worth of silver under control of JP Morgan, or about 600 million ounces. So global silver mining production in 2015 was 886 million ounces. So if you take the upper limit of all the ounces that could conceivably be under JP Morgan's control, they have about 2/3 of the global silver mining production of last year under their control, with their 582 million of 886 million ounces. Here's a list of the JP Morgan Chase affiliates that were listed in the Form 13F. I've also got the disclaimer here that JP Morgan and or its affiliates may not hold any direct beneficial ownership interest in any of the mining shares or any of the ETFs above. Further, JP Morgan and its affiliates may not have any direct ownership interest in any of the silver held at the JP Morgan Chase Bank Depository at Comex. And finally, JP Morgan and its affiliates may not have any direct ownership interest in any American silver eagles or any Canadian silver maple leaf coins. So there you go. There is what's possibly under JP Morgan's control. They're potentially a very large player in the silver market. And also, if you're interested, you can check out the links. I'll put a link to this particular article at the bottom of the YouTube video. You can check that out, and then you get access to these links, and you can check out the Swiss National Bank's $1 billion proprietary gold and silver mining share portfolio. You could check out the Norwegian Bank's silver and gold mining share portfolio, as well as Deutsche Bank. And again, Deutsche Bank is like JP Morgan. they own silver mining shares on behalf of their clients. Will also put together, I did not do the gold and silver mining shares of JPMorgan combined. I'll do that in the next few days to compare it to Deutsche Bank's $2 billion worth of gold and silver mining shares. I only included today the $122 million worth of silver mining shares that JPMorgan had. Please sign up for Smaulgld. You do that by going up at the top. You subscribe here. I don't put everything on YouTube, and I also don't include all the charts when I go through a YouTube podcast. And then also subscribe to the Smaulgld YouTube channel as well. Thank you very much for listening.